Certain Affinity welcomes you to our latest Forge tutorial. In this video we'll be covering how to set up King of the Hill, Oddball, and Capture the Flag on your map variant. The setup for these modes is simple and essentially identical to Halo Reach, so those of you who are comfortable setting up modes in Reach won't have any issues when it comes to Halo 4. For those who may be new to Forge, this video will walk through the basics of setting up these three modes. To begin, select Forge from the main menu. The default mode will be Basic Editing. When setting up any game type in Forge, you must be editing in that mode. Since we're starting with King of the Hill, we'll change that now. Note that when you start to set up Oddball and Capture the Flag, you'll have to go back out and change those modes in this menu. Next, select your map variant. I've created a simple variant inside of Erosion for demonstration purposes. With that selected, choose Start Forge to begin. Once in game, hit X to bring up the Object menu. Most of the objects needed for setting up game modes are located in the Objectives category. Select this, and then place a hill marker. Press X to bring up the object properties. From here you can use the Shape option to toggle between cylinder and box, and use the size adjustments underneath to adjust the size of the hill. Once you have the size and shape set, select Advanced. The spawn sequence setting is used to determine which hill this is. 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, and so on. Since this is the first hill, set this to 1. Change Game Specific to True, ensuring that the marker only appears visible when in King of the Hill. Game type labels are used to define what this hill marker does. The correct label for a hill is KOTH Hill. That is all you need. This is now Hill A and will function properly in King of the Hill. The quick way to create more hills is to simply duplicate this one by using the down on the D-pad, move it, adjust the shape and size, and then select Advanced. Change the spawn sequence to 2 and you've got Hill B complete, since the game specific and game type label settings carry over when duplicating an object. Use this technique to set up a few hills and that's it. King of the Hill is now set up. Let's move on to Oddball. Remember that you'll need to save and exit and then relaunch with Oddball as a selected game type. Setting up Oddball is basically identical to King of the Hill. Press X to open the Objects menu, and the object to place is under Objectives, and is named Capture Plate. Press X to open the object properties, and then select Advanced. Just like before, set the spawn sequence to 1. This will be the first ball location when the game begins. Set Game Specific to True so that the plate doesn't appear in other modes. Then set the game type label to Oddball Ball. And you're done. You can actually play at this point, and it would just be the one respawn point whenever the ball returns. If you wanted to add other respawn points, you'd simply duplicate this object, place it somewhere else on the map, and then hit X, and go into Advanced, and change the spawn sequence to 2, and 3, and so on. It's a good idea to change your spawn sequence each time like you did in King of the Hill. This will make the mode work correctly if you were to change the Oddball settings so that they would go through them in order. However, the default setting will randomly pick a capture plate when the ball resets. Now that King of the Hill and Oddball are set up, let's move on to Capture the Flag, which is a bit more complex. To begin, we'll need to place a flag object for both teams. Hit X to open the Objects menu, and select Objectives. Place a flag stand. And you hit X to access the Properties menu. You'll need to assign the stand to a team. This is the red base, so it will be set to Defender. Note that the color of the stand itself changes when you alter the setting, which can be useful in remembering which team is which color. Select Advanced. Change Game Specific to True so that the stand isn't visible in other modes. Then change the game type label to CTF Flag Return. Now duplicate this stand using down on the D-pad and move it into the other base. Hit X to bring up the object properties, and change the team to the other base color. That's it for the base setup. However, an important aspect to capture the flag is that you only spawn at your own base. Otherwise, you can spawn anywhere, including next to the enemy flag. Let's take a look at how to set up spawning in CTF. In Halo, players will only respawn at respawn points placed throughout the map. How and where to place these is an entire topic of its own. To place a point, hit X to open the Objects menu and select Spawning, and then place a respawn point. I've already duplicated a bunch of these throughout my map. Open the Spawning menu again with X. The object needed for base spawning is called Respawn Zone. Place one of these on the map. Hit X to open the Properties menu. Set the team to the same as the flag stand on that side of the map. Next, you'll need to adjust the size and shape of the object so that all of the spawn points you want are inside of the volume. This takes a bit of time to tinker to get right. An important thing to remember is that players will still only spawn at the respawn points, so the shape isn't important as long as the correct respawn points are placed inside. Once that's set, select Advanced. Change game specific to True, and then change the game type label to CTF Respawn Zone. Respawn is abbreviated with RES Zone. Players in that team will now tend to spawn at respawn points inside of this zone. There's one more spawning thing we can do specific to CTF. Start by duplicating this object and then opening the Advanced menu again. Change the game type label to CTF Respawn Zone Away. This will be used when your flag has been taken by the enemy. This is commonly used to give respawn points that are a bit further up the map so that the team has a chance to catch up to the flag runner. Place this a bit further up, adjusting the size to select the correct respawn points. To set these up for the other team, you would simply duplicate them and then change the team setting to the correct base. And then you adjust the zone size so that they contain the correct respawn points. Now that CTF is set up, it's time to test the game types to make sure they work before playing them. From the main menu, select War Games, and then Custom Game. To test, it's a good idea to assign a second controller to play in split screen. Some modes, such as CTF, won't work without two players in the game. Choose the game mode you wish to test, and then select your variant from the list. It will be located under the map you selected for editing. Start it up and verify that everything is working as intended, and you're good to go. That's just the basic setup for these modes. If you experiment with game type settings and game labels, there are a lot of cool game types you can set up on Forge map variants. From all of us at Certain Affinity to all of you, Forge on!